Go.
What I wanted to talk to you about for just a second is what hemispheres are and how we divide the globe into hemispheres. As you recall, the Earth rotates on its axis. And because it rotates on its axis, there's an imaginary line that you can uh, see, for lack of a better word, around which the Earth seems to rotate. So if you take an imaginary line and it represents the point through the Earth around which the Earth seems to rotate, where it pierces the surface of the Earth is called the poles. And the area, if the Earth rotates this way and you use your right hand and your thumb, points up, this is the North Pole up here and this is the South Pole down here. If you draw a line that's equidistant from the North Pole to the South Pole and you draw that around the Earth, that's called the equator. And the equator divides the Earth into two halves. It divides it into the northern half and it divides it into the southern half. So that if you take something like an orange and you take the stem and the blossom end and you stick a line through it, something akin to that, it goes from one end to the other through the center of it and it rotates this way, then that would generate a line that looks something like this. If it was equidistant from this point to this point, it generated a line around here something like that. And that would be the equator of this orange. I'm not a very good drawer. And so this would be the northern half of the orange up here, and this would be the southern half of the orange, so that if I took a knife and I cut the orange right on the equator all the way down to the axis that it rotates on, that would give you a northern half and a southern half. Now the same is true, so this is true for degrees of latitude, and the same is true for degrees of longitude. So if we take the poles, the point through which the imaginary line around which the Earth rotates, and we would take the prime meridian, and I'll put it in red, and the prime meridian and the degree of longitude would go from one pole to the other pole as a straight line through the equator. So if we drew a line down like that, that would be the prime meridian. And if we took a knife then and cut right down on the prime meridian all the way through to the center of the Earth, then if the Earth rotates this way, then this would be called east, and this would be called west, because it's to the east side, the sunrise, the side the sun rises on first. It would be the east of the prime meridian, which is here, and this would be the west, and you'd get two halves of the globe like this. And this would be the eastern half, or the eastern hemisphere, and this would be the western half, or the western hemisphere. So if you divide the globe down through the prime meridian, you get the eastern and the western hemisphere, and if you divide the globe through the equator, you get the northern and the southern hemispheres.